Hi, I'm Mike, and you're watching Spiritual Combat, and the title of today's show is How to Get the Black Woman's Mind Right, okay? And, you know, I browse around, I always check the news online, I just see more and more just crazy situations with our women. And I'm not one to sit there and say, oh, well, that's why they're a problem and put it all on them. I believe at the end of the day, the responsibility always stands on the man. Our men are not leading. We have to be real men, and we have to lead our women. And when I say lead, I'm not talking about, because when it comes to leading a woman and everything, when you start looking around and you search the internet for advice, there's nothing that works out there. It's rare you come across somebody who really is giving you anything that will help you in your relationship and stuff like that. But what the reality is, the men have to lead. And when I say lead a woman, it's not always talking to them nice and giving them flowers. Sometimes you got to talk to them like an adult. Talk to them like a man and lay down the law and stand on it. And in order to lead these women, you have to have your mind right. You have to have your mind rooted in the word right there. Okay? Line up in the law, statutes, commandments, righteous leadership, not domineering dictatorship. But anyway, I want y'all to check out some of this stuff I've come across, and some of it's just very disturbing. So we'll go into the first one. All right. And yes, she's pregnant, and yes, that's a hammer. Oh. And you can hear it hitting the skull of the baby. I mean, our women are losing their minds. And, all right. And that's not, all right, here's another one of that. This is another woman doing it. All right. And then you look at, some of these news articles. Ohio mom accused of decapitating a 3-month-old accused of decapitating a 3-month-old daughter rejects plea deal. Okay. This was another one around here where I live at here in Jacksonville. Family says body found in river might be missing woman. 29-year-old Ashley Brown's car found at Matthews Bridge on Thanksgiving. So on Thanksgiving, this woman, she drove to the top of, one of the high bridges around here and jumped off. And I remember this particular story. I remember when it broke. I was the way they initially broke the story was a car found running at the top of the Matthews Bridge, police searching for kidnapping or something like that. And I was like, there ain't no kidnapping, and you got like, what was she going through that would make her jump off the bridge on Thanksgiving? Let me see. This is another situation that happened not too long ago. I think I'll bring that one up later. But here's another video to show you. Okay. Let me bring it up. All right.
Oh, yeah. Fuck all y'all. Fuck all y'all. Shut the fuck up.
See? What is she setting that child up for? You know what I'm saying? But, and then there was this one, and, okay. and I didn't look for it, but mom text video of dead toddler during fight with dad, cops say. And just says, it has what some of the text said here. It says, your kids ain't safe here. I don't want them here. And answer me or I'm going to jail for child endangerment, where were 2 of the dozens of texts listed in the criminal complaint. Then came a message at 10 that said, I'm killing them, followed by a laughing emoji with tears coming from the eyes. So I guess the emoji thing where, you're dying laughing, and, this is, this is just demonic oppression, demonic possession, making women do this. And my thing is, so what's going on? Like, what's causing this, and what's the solution? Because I'm not going to just sit here and have a whole video of the symptoms, and then at the end just have a sorry face like, what are we going to do? It's all hopeless. No. There are solid solutions and answers to these situations, these problems that are going on with our women, with our relationships with our women, you name it. And these aren't the only issues. There's other issues, but it's this all stems from the same thing, and the solution applies to all these situations with our women. And again, like I say in my videos, at the end of the day, the responsibility lies on the man. Our men are weak, and our men have to get strong and stand up to these women. Like I watch a lot of men in relationships with women, and they back down to their women. They just, oh, well, go along to get along. I don't want to get in arguments or this, that, and the other. And the women's disrespect them and stuff like that. And the women are getting this in their head from the television, from the media and stuff like that, the stuff they're watching on TV. You watch the housewives of this and the hip hop housewives and all these reality shows and Scandal and whatever the latest sitcoms are. And those are some of the more extreme ones, but there's more subtle ones. There's the comedy sitcom. I think there's one called Blackish. I haven't even seen the trailer for it, but I'm sure it's trash too. Like, I'm sure they make the men look silly and the woman is the leader, problem solver, and everything like that. I mean, that's the model that's getting handed down to us from everywhere. And that's where a lot of this stems from. So you got the media, whether it be the music, the shows, the movies, whatever, saying, okay, it's basically saying the woman's the head and the man's the silly, submitted follower, and that's how they establish it. And society buys into it, so they act out that narrative that they're getting from the media and everything like that. So the society acts it out, and it just is just this engine of destruction, and it's turning everything upside down from what's in the Bible. Because the Bible says the man's the head, okay? And it says the man is the lead, and it says Eve was deceived first. Satan goes after the woman. I mean, what you're watching is what it said in Genesis. What you see happening in society now is what you saw happening in Genesis. You saw Satan go to the woman and tempt her and say, hey, you could be like God. You could be a diva. You could have this power, and the man going along with it, being weak. Adam was weak. He didn't stand up and say, no, woman, we were told to do this. Same thing today. The men give their power away. And the Bible tells you, it says right here, Proverbs 31, verse 3, it says, give not thy strength unto woman. Okay? It tells you. I mean, all this stuff's in the Bible, but these silly, wicked churches don't teach the Bible. They just the churches encourage what's already going on. Okay, so so the way I'm gonna start this lesson is we're gonna go to Joshua chapter 1. I think we're gonna start at verse 1. Well, we won't start at verse 1. We'll go ahead a little. But anyway, it says this is after Moses dies. He's telling Joshua that he's to go into the land and take the land, and God, and I'm just paraphrasing, but and God says I will be with you. He said, do what I say, and the land is yours. And he says be strong and of good courage. And basically God's telling him, hey, this land's yours, but you got to fight for it, and you got to do what I say and listen to what I say, and you're going to have this land, and it's going to be all good. But you got to do what I say, and it's going to be some fighting involved. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing in a relationship when you're dealing with these women. If you love them, you're going to be willing to fight for them. And a lot of times it involves fighting them, and not fist fighting them, but standing up to them, standing on the truth, standing on what you know to be right in accordance with what the word says, and doing all this according to wisdom. Okay. And I mean, what happens, I'll tell you what happens. A man, he meets a woman. He, because she fine, she look good, he run through the pussy, and then they get married and everything like that. And then the woman starts, testing him, seeing, hey, you gonna stand up to me? He backs down, he gives in, because that's the narrative society's giving him. That's the narrative that the media is giving him. So he kind of plays into that role. She plays into the role of, hey, I run this show, this, that, and the other. And the man gets dominated. And then he begins like, oh, I don't like this thing. Like, this sucks. And then he goes and he starts cheating on the woman. Or if he's half a man, he stands up to a woman, and there's just always fighting all the time. And then he'll back down, and then she'll back down, and it's back and forth and everything like that. And the man does not know how to argue with the woman. So it's just a back and forth power struggle. Okay. So that's kind of your typical standard path of the way things go. The other way things go is sometimes you'll meet a woman, and she is submitted. She is a godly woman. She's submissive to the man, but the man is not a leader. The man doesn't make wise decisions, wise, biblical, righteous decisions, and leads the family into trouble. And nobody knows why the family is just in a disastrous, bad spot. Okay. In a bad situation. So that's the other way these things play out all the time. Like, for instance, where you saw the one woman where you saw her, where she was texting the guy and saying, hey, I'm gonna kill the baby, this, that, and the other. Because there's actually a similar situation like that happened. And there was actually a video where the woman was stabbing the baby and killing the baby on video, just stabbing. But the one situation there, the man had went out to go hang out at a club or with some other girl he was running around with. Why? Probably because she was like some demanding, domineering woman. You know what I'm saying? And there was probably a bunch of fights. And eventually, you battling with this woman and you're not getting anywhere, and she just bullheaded, and you just going back and forth. And eventually some chick come along, and the dude, it just needs a break. And next thing you know, he's, smashing something on the side. So, but that's the typical way these things play out. Well, how's it need to play out? Well, if you with a woman and she is the domineering type and it's a power struggle and you're always arguing back and forth, you need to learn how to argue with her. Okay. I don't argue. You know what I'm saying? I just, you know, if we're getting in an argument and she bucking back at me, I'm telling her, look, this is the way it is. This is what you're going to do. And, you know, like I said, there's basically 3 ways you're going to deal with it. You're going to stand your ground and let her know the way it's going to be and outshout her and just fight it till her energy runs out. Because look, at the end of the day, you're a man. You're built and designed for this. You could, like, a man can sit there and argue and fight and yell and not really be affected emotionally. A woman, she gonna be turning up and and eventually she gonna be like, let me just shut up because this dude ain't gonna stop, you know? And I'm getting myself all worked up. Sometimes that's not the way to go though. Sometimes she'll get the woman to get so spun up, it could turn violent. Like it could get physical. So sometimes you'll need to say, look, we doing this, you know, because this is what the scriptures say, and that's what we gonna do. This, that, and other. I ain't doing nothing. Blah blah blah. Bye and leave. You need to, if you have to, leave your cell phone right there on the table and walk out the door and leave. And you might need to leave for a couple days. You might need to leave for a couple hours. It might need to be a couple days, whatever. And let her miss you. Don't call her. Don't text her. Don't have zero contact. Don't send a smoke signal. Don't give any hint of where you at, and just go. You know, don't be around it. Sometimes you just need to give it a break and then come back and stand on exactly what you were saying when you left. Because, I mean, it's that serious a lot of times. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got to stand on the truth. Because the analogy I use is a lot of times these women, because they're so easily manipulated by this society, which is controlled by Satan, they're so easily manipulated by what's on TV and what society is saying. And you'll be you're standing on something that is in the word, that's biblical, and they'll be bucking against it. And the analogy I use is they're on the train tracks. They think the light is the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's really a train coming. And you know that. And they're steadily standing on the track arguing with you saying, hey, it's light at the end of the tunnel. And you like, no, it's a train and it's going to hit you. But it's a beautiful, wonderful light. And everybody's saying it's light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes you just got to run and tackle them off the track. Okay. And I'm using an analogy. What I'm saying is sometimes you got to talk to them like a man and stand up to them and shout them down and put them in order and put them in the spot they need to be in. That is biblical. Okay. With the world tells you to do, oh, you get in an argument, you going back and forth, she's bucking back at you. She ain't supposed to be. The Bible tells her to be submitted, to be a shamefaced woman. Okay, it tells you to be the leader, to be the head. It tells her to humble herself. Okay, but she's sitting there shouting back at you, bucking back at you when you telling her something that could potentially save her life. Okay, and you need to stand on that. What the world tells you to do is, oh, okay, don't argue and get her some flowers and this, that, and the other. No. Sometimes you got to make these women do what's right, period. Whatever it takes. Not hitting them, but sometimes you got to talk to them and say, look, you're going to do it and you're going to shut your mouth and you're going to do, I mean, you got to do it sometimes. Sometimes you're not watching Scandal up in here. You're not watching this reality TV show. Because with these, like, we don't watch TV up in this house. Let me correct that. We don't watch cable TV up in this house. we'll watch Netflix, and the rest of the time we're watching Bible sermons and stuff like that. You know, and that's where I've gotten my house too. It wasn't an overnight thing. It was a slow thing of coming into the truth, but there were fights along the way from time to time. But it's gotten us in a better place. Our house is peaceful. My wife's mind is right. You know what I'm saying? Without her being on medication or anything like that. Because these shows, and I already got a video about it, and I'm going to do more. The stuff that's on TV will make you go crazy. The stuff, I mean, the shows that are on there, you don't realize it, but they will make you lose your mind. You will get psychosis watching TV now. It's like the demonic influence on these TV shows is so smooth and subtle and powerful and deceptive. It's amazing. I mean, and if you step away from it for a while, you can see it. I don't watch basketball. Like, I like basketball, drag racing, and UFC fighting. I don't watch none of that anymore. Like, when I'm watching TV, it's like I've been away from it so long. When I watch it, it's like, bam, it just hits you. You could see it. So it's strong, man. Even on your most subtle shows. Like, right before I stopped watching television, I was watching a lot of History Channel because they have a lot of documentaries. But even the History Channel, they were just putting on a bunch of reality TV shows that make you lose your daggone mind. Anyway, I'm not going off into that, but you got to stand on stuff. Like, when you know it's right and you know it lines up with that word, don't back down, okay? And sometimes you need to leave. Sometimes you got to leave and just get out of the house and leave them alone. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, you got to stand up and be a man. And just like God said, it's like a good analogy is that scripture I read with Joshua. He had to go in there. God said, I'm going to give you this land, but you have to, there's stuff you're going to have to do to get it. You know what I'm saying? And some of you are married and in a situation like what I'm talking about. The first thing you need to do is pray. And if the situation is real tough, you need to pray, fast, and seek the Lord. And when I say seek the Lord, I'm talking about read that Bible, find Bible teachers, find somebody teaching the truth like me, and there's other people out there. But you need to pray, fast, seek the Lord, get your mind right, and then go in there and take the land. Get her mind right, you know? And once you get her mind right and you know, and again, this is an analogy. It's saying what I'm really saying is like once you grab her and turn her towards the truth and she fighting it, I don't want to say it. It's like, and you turn her towards it and you tackle her off those train tracks and she sees that train go by, she'll be like, you really do love me. That is love. You love me. And she will get on board with you. And yet, like when a woman is on board with you according to her biblical role, man, life gets easy. Like the stress drops away. Like you got somebody in your corner helping you. And you see the benefits of marriage. Like the way these marriages are out here in the world, you know, I hear dudes tell me all the time, it's like a joke around where I work at, you know. It's like, man, like, don't get married. Wait on marriage. It's like, it's a pain. You know, they don't have anything good to say about it. I have a ton of good stuff to say about it. All right. But let me, okay. So, all right. So we got another scripture here. Let's see. It's Proverbs 21. So Proverbs 21, chapter verse 9. It says, it is better to dwell in a corner of the house top than with a brawling woman in a wide house. So it's bad, man, when your woman is nagging you and all on top of you. And it's like I said, sometimes you need to just leave. But at some point, you're going to have to stand up and be a real man and stand up to this woman and, you know, lead her in the truth. Okay. So like I was talking about, this is what the Bible says about the when it pertains to women. It says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. Okay, that's tough. Like, that's a joke in today's society. You know, people laugh when you read that in today's society. Okay, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. Okay, therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, it says, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Okay, and let's go into that. It's telling the husbands to love their wives as Christ loved the church. And that doesn't mean come home with roses and chocolate chip cookies every day. Sometimes you got to tell them sternly in a hard way the truth. Look, this is what's going to happen. Stop arguing with me, this, that, you know, and get them in line with the word if they're not walking according to the word. Just like Christ, he didn't always, oh, you know, hearts and hugs and kisses. He wasn't that way towards Israel and towards the church in Israel in the Bible. Sometimes he chastised them, you know what I'm saying, to get them in order because they were stubborn. And that's the way some women are, you know what I'm saying? So, but in righteousness also, let me say that, like, it says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved your church. So be righteous leadership. You know, you're not some dictator up there, you know, always, you know, dictating to them and, you know, dominating them. You know, you love them too. But when there's something that needs to be stood on, you stand on it. And it's not every little thing. All right, tomorrow, you know, you're not going to be up there like, tomorrow I'm going to do everything Mike said. 100%, and you just dominate it. No, it's a gradual thing using wisdom. But sometimes you got to buckle down and go to war and stand your ground and not back down and make her do what's right and what's best and what's going to, you know, keep her safe and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, that TV is a big one, man. Why? Like, you got to be careful what your woman gets in her head. And that TV's always talking to her, man. And that junk is saying crazy stuff to her. You know, that thing will tell you, you know, it's right there in your house, already infiltrated, and it will tear your house apart. So, and that's a big war there. That's a big battle. You know what I'm saying? All right. So, and here's a Bible verse basically talking about what I was showing you earlier. It says, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not venture to set or adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom and toward her son and toward her daughter. Okay, and you saw that right there. I mean, the one woman was hitting herself in the stomach with a hammer. Okay. Yeah, so you saw it right there. I mean, you see these scriptures, you see this Bible's real. You know, that's a curse we're under because we're not following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible. And it's up to the man to get his mind right and lead his woman out of those curses also. All right. Not to do this, not to just throw up your hands and give up like Derrick Rose did. You know, he got him a snow bunny. You know, he went through all that stuff with that other girl, some court case about raping some girl, something like that. And he did what a lot of brothers do. He go with a snow bunny, you know what I'm saying? And gave up on sisters, you know? That's what a lot of these brothers do because they don't know what else to do, you know, because society ain't giving them no options. They're telling them, oh, you got to be nicer to them, you know? All right, so let me see. All right, so we got 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3. I'll pull it up, and it says, but I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. So again, hierarchy, order. You got to have order. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like, you got to establish that order that, hey, I'm the head and you're to be submitted. And you don't need to tell it to her all the time. You need to show her when it's out of order. Because another thing I say all the time, when it happens, when everything plunges into total chaos in this country, if that happens during my lifetime or whatever, these hard-headed women gonna be the first ones to die, to get shot or something happen to you. Like, if this thing ever plunged into total chaos, like, I've taught my woman how to shoot guns, and I'm working with her to get her better at it, and we're establishing an order around here. So if it did plunge into total chaos, we could have damn near military order, to where, because I was in the military, and I know the importance of hierarchy and order, and okay, everybody knows their job, because when you're in a pressure situation and the heavy pressure is on, the only thing you have is, hey, your order and what needs to be done. You can't have confusion in war. There has to be order. You know what I'm saying? And we are in a spiritual war now, so that order has to be there. You hear these people talking about, oh, yeah, my marriage is 50-50. The power is 50-50. Man, you got confusion up in your house. You know what I'm saying? You got to have that order, and the Bible lays it out right there in front of you, with military precision. You know what I'm saying? All right. So let's see. We got, so this is Proverbs 31, verse 10, Proverbs 31 woman. Okay. And it says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. And you want to know something? I forget what I was watching, but they were talking about how they were talking about in the 60s, and how they oppressed us in this country, and the COINTELPRO project and all that, how they studied our race, and they figured out the one thing that kept us strong and kept us resilient and kept us coming back as a race was our woman stuck by us. And they knew they had to pull that woman out from under us, and that's when they enticed her with, welfare and child support, putting child support on them and all that stuff. They got the man out the house and turned the woman against us, and this, this is what you want to experience, because this makes life it's night and day difference, because you always got a place where you can rest your soul when you come home and you're around your woman. It says the heart of her husband doeth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Okay. And it says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. And what I did is pulled up the definition of virtuous. Let me make this bigger. There we go. So I pulled up that definition here. It says virtuous. It says having or showing high moral standards. So high moral standards. So keeping the law, statutes, commandments, stuff like that. She considered herself very virtuous because she neither drank nor smoked. Synonyms: righteous, good, pure, whiter than white, saintly, angelic. So it's just morals. And when you read it in the context of the Bible, you know what I'm saying? It's talking about keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, that God laid out. She's in accordance with that. She respects her husband. She's submitted like the Bible says to be. Okay. So let me see. All right. So yeah, so and that's what you want to attain. That's where you want to get to, and another powerful thing, is not having a pastor, some Christian pastor teaching your wife. You should teach your wife. Like, you should do Bible studies with your family. And that's something I'm working on doing here. I'm implementing, and I've been, it's something I got to really stay on top of and push myself hard to do. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a powerful thing where you're controlling the programming of everybody's mind. Because whatever happens, you're getting programmed one way or another. But whether you just sit there in front of TV and let the TV pour stuff in your mind and in your wife's mind and your kid's mind, or whether you do it yourself. And that's a big thing that, I got to get a lot stronger on, because I know how powerful that is. So yeah, I'm putting that in there too. And let me make sure I got all the meat off the bone on this topic. Just another thing, there's a guy I work with that works with me, and prior to working, where we're working now, he before that he worked at a sane asylum or a mental hospital, or whatever you want to call it. But he was just telling me how majority of the people who come in there getting, because it's where the cops drop people off who losing their mind, or people just walking on their own. But he said the majority of people who come in are women, like by far. You're like, these women are losing their minds. They're going crazy because the demonic oppression is so heavy, and it takes you coming out of it and looking at it to see it. Like when you're standing on the tracks and you see the light, and everybody's saying, oh yeah, just stand there. It's a beautiful warm light and you could just stare into it, this, that, and the other. Well, you don't see it. But once you pull yourself out of this society, pull yourself out of all the stuff, from amongst this society, and take yourself away from the television and the music and all that stuff, just pull away from it for a while, and you might go cold turkey, you might have withdrawal symptoms or whatever, but pull out of it, and then you look at it again, you're like, wow, I see why people are going crazy. One of the big things with television, they always telling you that, hey, you ain't good enough the way you are. You need to be this, That makes people go crazy. That's one of the things, But anyway, I hope this video was informative. Check out my Facebook page. Check out, more videos on my Spiritual Combat page. Please put comments down there, ask questions, give me video recommendations. I'll do them. And you're watching Spiritual Combat, and have a nice day.